Dah okey?
Asal?
Tak tahu. Aku dah tekan lah start podcast ni.
Dah boleh kau start podcast.
Dah boleh lah.
Sekejap aku buka.
Cuba check ni. Aduh. Yang ni tak boleh dulu.
Dah guys.
Okey.
Tak nampak. Mana?
Ha? Dah keluar? Okey. So boleh start lah. Okey.
Guna phone lain kan. Jangan.
Okey. Korang duduk sini tu.
Ha? Apa?
Korang duduk sini tu.
Sini lah.
Ha? Aduh. Okey. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Mula-mula saya nak terima kasih kepada pihak I Love Warwick kerana memberi peluang. Dah lama dah sebenarnya request untuk saya bagi, tapi itulah dah banyak kali dah saya delay. So hari ni saya rasa dah about time untuk bagi. Jadi topik yang saya pilih pada hari ni ialah riba. So hari tu pun baru ada talk dekat Warwick sebenarnya oleh seorang partner dari Northern Rose Fulbright tentang the life cycle of an Islamic finance deal. Jadi sejak talk tu lebih kurang seminggu 2 minggu lepas, so adalah baca sikit-sikit tentang riba ni lagi. Jadi mula-mula saya akan share tentang apa yang Famida B, nama partner dari Northern Rose ni, share. Jadi dia cakap sebenarnya Islamic finance betul-betul start booming balik in the 1980s. Jadi masa tu dia start dengan especially shipping and trade industry. And it has been growing sejak tahun 2000. Memang dia naik dengan kiranya betul-betul berkembang dengan pesatnya. Yang menariknya, kenapa banyak research oleh even pihak barat tentang Islamic finance ni, sebab masa krisis dalam tahun 2008 tu, Islamic finance punya bonds, punya produk semua tak severely affected. Sebab the main reason sebab Islamic finance was not involved dengan CDO, credit debt obligation tu. So yang tu kiranya paling banyak suffer lah, of course. All the CDOs memang collapse. Jadi apa yang dia cakap masa tu, money is not a commodity in itself, rather means of exchange. Jadi ini antara core difference antara conventional punya konsep dengan Islamic finance. Sebab untuk Islamic finance, duit tu semata-mata dia just a means of exchange, just untuk kita, a medium of valuing things. Tapi untuk conventional banking, kiranya duit tu sendiri boleh bertambah value through interest. Jadi dia point out juga sebenarnya banyak overlap antara CSR dengan Islamic finance. So Islamic finance memang even siapa-siapa pun western ke apa nampak memang it's used for social good. And it's used to generate activities which generate profit. Jadi ayat ni sebenarnya memang penting. Sebab generate activities which generate profit. Bukan semata-mata bagi loan, tak fikir untuk apa bank bagi loan ni dekat orang tu. Tapi betul-betul tahu yang sebenarnya orang ni akan pakai duit ni untuk apa. Really get to know application, who is the applicant, apa dia punya background, kenapa dia minta duit ni, boleh ke dia bayar balik. So it's much more on a personal basis. Lagi dia much more in-depth kiranya sebelum processing the application. And buat masa ni baru 1% je daripada semua aset kat dunia yang syariah compliant. It's 1.8 trillion USD worth, tapi it's only 1% of the total assets in the world. Jadi yang menariknya dekat UK sebenarnya regulatory and tax punya environment dia dah membantu untuk Islamic finance ada level playing field dengan conventional Islamic finance. Sebab kalau kita fikir dari segi let's say kita orang Islam senang, kita boleh bayangkan Islamic finance is the way to go. Tapi untuk orang bukan Muslim, untuk dia yakin pakai Islamic finance dia kena yakin lah yang memang legal system pun dah sesuai untuk enforce all these documents. Sebab kalau you make an agreement with regards, which complies dengan rules Islamic finance, tapi tak ada court yang akan enforce orang tak akan pakai juga. Jadi recent international sukuk UK government started sebab dia orang supposedly nak jadi the biggest Islamic finance hub outside the Islamic world. Hong Kong pun dah ada, South Africa, Luxembourg, Goldman Sachs and Pakistan. So dah banyak negara. Tapi betul Pakistan is negara Islam. Tak tahu kenapa dia bagi example. Okay, jadi itu yang dia share lebih kurang. Masa tu adalah lebih 100 orang yang datang, yang alhamdulillah sebenarnya banyak je orang bukan Islami yang datang sebab banyak tertarik dengan perkembangan Islamic finance ni. Jadi seterusnya saya akan share sikit tentang buku oleh nama dia Imran Nazar Hussein. Ya, Imran. So Imran Nazar Hussein ni, buku ni dia tulis sebenarnya tahun 1994. Jadi itulah saya terjumpa buku ni kat rumah tapi mak tak bagi bawa, so saya photostat lah bawa datang sini. Jadi sebelum bagi flower ni adalah buka sikit first second chapter tadi. Jadi tajuk buku ni The Prohibition of Riba in the Quran and Sunnah. Sheikh Imran Nazar Hussein ni was born in Trinidad tahun 1942. And dia study Islam bawah bimbingan Islamic scholar and Sufi Sheikh Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fazlur Rahman Al-Ansari. And kenapa dia decide untuk tulis buku ni sebenarnya? Sebab dia rasa memang most Muslims do not have an adequate knowledge on this subject. And some are incapable of understanding the subject because of veils in their eyes, and some memang tak nak belajar sebab dia orang rasa it's impossible in the world yang kita hidup sekarang ni untuk buat transaction tanpa riba. Okay. Jadi saya akan sekarang quote daripada buku tu pula, buku Money, You and Islam oleh Dr. Zaruddin Abdul Rahman. Jadi chapter pertama tentang reasons for learning about lawful and unlawful matters in finance. Jadi Dr. Zaruddin dalam buku dia tulis kenapa as a Muslim, seeking knowledge on the rules of religion is so important. Jadi ada satu ayat ni, satu hadis narrated by Tirmidhi, which goes, the 2 feet of the son of Adam will not move on the day of judgment in front of his Lord until he is asked about 5 matters: about his life and how he exhausts it, about his youth, what did he consume it in, about his wealth, how did he earn it, what did he spend it on, and how much did he act upon what he knew. Jadi yang menariknya daripada 5 benda yang paling penting ni, 2 tentang wealth. About his wealth, how did he earn it, macam mana orang tu dapat duit tu, and what did he spend it on. So it's both ways, 2. Macam mana dia dapat, macam mana dia spend duit tu. And another hadith further explains, any flesh that has grown from impure wealth, verily the hellfire is more deserving for it. Jadi memang sebenarnya until a few years back masa kami pergi talk dekat KY masa pergi ada kursus oleh Al-Naki Solutions dekat Selangor tu yang Dr. Zaruddin buat. Memang sebelum saya pun tak tahu sangat lah tentang Islamic finance ni. Tapi sekarang ni going to World Islamic Economic Forum last year dekat Johor Bahru sekali dengan Haris, Bob semua. Kiranya memang betul sebenarnya Malaysia interestingly is the leading country in Islamic finance. Jadi kita sebagai orang Malaysia memang rasa I mean saya especially rasa memang bangga, kagum dengan Malaysia yang tengah betul-betul mencuba untuk expand tentang ni. CIMB pun hari tu Datuk Nazir Razak baru bagi talk dekat LSE. Memang it's the biggest investment bank yang terlibat dengan Islamic finance in the world. Jadi memang banyak indikator akan tunjuk sebenarnya Islamic finance memang akan membesar, akan berkembang besar. Sebab the rate of growth of Islamic finance is actually double of conventional finance at the moment. Okay. Sorry, tak sempat betul-betul structure presentation ya. Mohon maaf. Okay. Sekarang kita akan pergi kepada unlawful elements in finance. Apa sebenarnya yang betul-betul tak boleh buat with regards to riba ni. So okay, kita start dulu dengan chapter 2 of buku Syekh Imran ni. Menariknya dia start definition of riba in chapter ni. Dia cakap perhaps no modern scholar of Islam has understood the nature and substance of riba more accurately than an Austrian Jew named Leopold Weiss, who became a Muslim in 1926 and took the Muslim name Muhammad Asad. Jadi sebenarnya dia cakap kenapa Muhammad Asad sendiri rasa dia betul-betul boleh mendalami chapter ni, sebab dia cakap his success in penetrating the very essence of the subject was undoubtedly related to his own Jewish background and his knowledge of riba in Judaism. Sebab seperti yang kita tahu sebenarnya riba ni memang ada disebut dalam Bible, ada disebut dalam Torah. Jadi tapi dah di-alter seperti mana yang kita tahu. Jadi chapter tu semua dah tak berapa nak clear, memang dah banyak ubah dah. Tapi kiranya Leopold Weiss ni, Muhammad Asad ni, dia rasa sebab dia Jew, dia memang boleh betul-betul faham apa nature riba in its truest form. Jadi dia cakap okay, in its general linguistic sense, the term riba denotes an addition to or an increase of a thing over and above its original size or amounts. In the terminology of the Quran, it signifies any unlawful addition by way of interest to a sum of money or goods lent by one person or body of persons to another. Jadi saya akan terus quote dia punya part yang paling menarik, kenapa Syekh Imran Nazar Hussain rasa dia betul-betul tackle the issue better than any other scholar tentang definition of riba itself. Roughly speaking, the definition of riba attaches to profits obtained through interest-bearing loans involving an exploitation of the economically weak by the strong and resourceful. Maknanya for riba to really be riba, it has to be an exploitation oleh yang mampu kepada orang yang tak mampu. An exploitation characterized by the fact that the lender, while retaining full ownership of the capital loaned, bila lender bagi duit, even sekarang ni bank semua, memang full ownership of the loan itself, of course, still bank punya, and having no legal concern with the purpose for which it is to be used. Memang exactly. I mean, bank tak betul-betul kisah pun duit tu pakai untuk apa. Yang dia kisah boleh bayar balik ke tak. Dia tak kisah pakai duit tu untuk benda bagus ke, benda tak bagus ke. Yang penting dia tahu dia dibayar balik dengan amount yang lebih. So sambung balik. Remains contractually assured of gain irrespective of any losses which the borrower may suffer in consequence of this transaction. So dari awal sampai habis tadi ada 3 main parts. So satu, exploitation of the economically weak by the strong. Second, retaining full ownership of the capital loan. Maknanya dia memang still akan retain full ownership. And third, they don't care apa purpose untuk loan tu, asalkan dia boleh dibayar balik. So 3 parts of the definition ni yang describe interest Yeah, I mean, describe riba from the sense of Leopold Weiss. Okay, so now that we're done with the definition, kita akan teruskan dengan beberapa forms of riba. Okay, satu is lending money on interest, known as riba al-fadl, credit transactions. So yeah, first is lending money on interest. Second, increasing the price of an article in consideration of deferred payment. Maknanya, asalkan bayar lambat je, kena bayar lebih. That's the other form. Interest, tak kisah lambat ke apa, awal memang on top of apa dia loan, memang akan ada. The other type is that, yeah, kiranya most of the time memang double. Lambat bayar, ada penalty lagi. The third type is employing deception as the basis for unfair profit. So deception ni yang sebenarnya paling menarik untuk orang yang betul-betul suka free market. Kalau baca, I mean, most of this, apa yang ditulis dalam buku ni, sebenarnya apa Islam really tries to promote, at least from apa yang saya boleh faham, is free market. Sila. Free market in its purest form. Maknanya tak ada all this apa external punya asymmetric information, tak ada anybody rigging the market. We want the market to be in its truest form, which is interesting sebenarnya. So this is called gharar. Maknanya employing deception is called gharar, and it takes many different forms, such as speculative transactions. Yeah, CDO is pure speculative transactions. Which is speculative transactions in which the masses work to earn their livelihood, and this livelihood is then sucked away by the predatory elite in a sophisticated form of gambling. So yelah, kiranya yang banyak orang yang invest in stock market biasa memang yang kaya. So bila benda tu crash, yang paling suffer sebenarnya bukan dia orang sangat, yelah, they will lose their investment, tapi that's not all their money. Tapi yang hilang kerja semua, yang dekat US sampai lebih 10 million lost their jobs, orang yang susah. I mean, middle class to lower class, it's not the upper class yang akan suffer from this sophisticated form of gambling yang diorang panggil speculative transactions. The next form of riba is having someone artificially bid up the price in an auction, thus corrupting the free and fair market. Maknanya kalau ada auction, kita memang dah plan seorang, maknanya dia sentiasa akan push the price upward. Sebenarnya dia tak nak pun. Whereas ada orang lain dalam audience yang memang nak beli. Maknanya you are rigging the market. It's not a free market anymore. And next is hoarding in order to capitalize on the resultant artificially created scarcity in the market, thus compromising free market. Maknanya hoarding, maknanya kita simpan benda tu untuk create artificial punya scarcity in the market. Sebenarnya tak ada pun scarcity tu. Tapi sebab kita tahu basic laws of economic, bila supply turun, maknanya terus harga akan naik. Maknanya ni pun salah. This is a form of riba as well. And lagi satu is monopoly, which controls price. Maknanya kalau memang ada satu je monopoly, dia memang boleh, dia of course dia control the market. There is no longer free market, dia control. Free market kalau ikut semua contoh-contoh, maknanya it's letting the system function without without impeding a buyer and a seller to make a transaction. Sorry. Okay. So yes, that's the different forms of riba. And dah berapa minit dah? Takut lama sangat lah. 30 minit, okay. Sikit lagi. Sebab ni baru start. Yelah, baru introduction. Boleh cover semua. Okay. And yes, untuk sorry, break kejap. Okay. Next will be this one. Okay, saya akan share sikit tentang some basic responses to riba yang Syekh Imran Nazar Hussain tulis. Jadi, okay, kita dah cakap tentang apa yang riba, kiranya semua benda yang kita tak nak from riba in the market. Jadi, apa yang dia propose sebenarnya, biasanya kita memang rasanya dah biasa dengar this proposed solutions, which are, kiranya apa yang dia propose untuk kita buat to counter riba ni is, no transaction involving lending for gain. Maknanya, lending on interest, will be legally recognized as a valid transaction. Maknanya, no transaction involving interest would be legally recognized as a valid transaction. Maknanya, memang by law, kita tak harap just on the basis of human nature, based on akhlak je, because it's so rooted in the system dah. So the only way untuk really counter it, there must be a law. You can say, oh, maybe kalau ikut hati budi orang, maybe in time dia akan do away with riba based on current punya circumstances of the market. Kalau ikut kata dia, most probably not. Memang kena ada regulation against any transaction having interest. And any credit transaction on the basis of a higher price than the market price and without any justification for the increase in price other than the consideration of credit would have no legal validity. Maksudnya sekarang ni bank, the only thing yang buat sebenarnya dia boleh tambah an amount to apa yang dia bagi is only consideration of credit, nothing else. So this is also considered illegal. And yes, next is gold dinar and silver dirham must be recognized as legal tender. When that takes place, then all workers and all sellers of goods, property and services will be entitled to demand that they be paid in gold and silver rather than paper, and would also be entitled to renegotiate agreements so that they may be based on real money rather than artificial paper money. Dia sebenarnya ekstrim sikit sebab memang kalau baca ada buku part lain dalam introduction memang dia agak ekstrim. Jadi the Islamic State will itself set the example in its external trade of oil. Menarik sample dia. For example, by demanding payment in gold rather than dollars. Sebab dia cakap senang je because he knows banyak negara Islam sekarang memang export oil. So kalau memang diorang demand that they be paid in gold, orang nak tak nak orang kena bayar juga sebab orang nak oil kan. So so dia kata macam pakai leverage on this. Maknanya orang memang confirm akan kena beli juga oil tu. So that's why they have the position of advantage untuk minta it to be done in gold. They have that strength to do it. And the law must provide for exemplary punishment which would serve as an effective deterrent for those who may be tempted to violate laws pertaining to the elimination of riba from the economy. So memang dia very government centric. Mana apa-pun government kena settle semua benda ikut kata dia. Yes, adalah lagi dia tulis pasal that economic sunnah, mana semua sunnah yang ada kaitan dengan ekonomi sikit. I mean as we know, memang riba is the last commandment yang diturunkan oleh Allah kepada Nabi Muhammad SAW. Ayat surah Al-Baqarah ayat 275 sampai 286. Jadi kiranya it's a topic memang amongst the scholars pun dia rasa ni paling susah sebab paling sedikit resource, and kiranya hadis tentang riba per se in terms of the ideal economic structure pun tak ada. Sebab kiranya kalau kita ingat ada satu kisah tu, ada sahabat jumpa Nabi Muhammad SAW bertanya, dia kata macam dekat pasar tu ada masalah, macam mana nak tentukan harga antara penjual dan pembeli masa tu. Dia rasa ada rigging of the market Tapi Rasulullah SAW kata, rasanya ayat ni memang ada. Better quote the whole thing. Mana ayat tu tadi? Kena jari Imran. Kau ingat ayat besar-besar ni? Ya, yes. Maknanya let the market decide. Maknanya sebab Rasulullah kata dia tak nak bertanggungjawab atas any injustice. And kenapa in this context injustice? Sebab orang rasa there was an injustice to the buyers, tapi dia orang tak fikir tentang the possible injustice to the sellers. Sebab memang it was well known at that particular time, in that particular context, yang zaman tu tak ada. There were, I mean, at least setahu Rasulullah memang tak ada any seller yang tengah ada taking advantage on the buyers ke apa. So dia cakap let the market be. Bila memang the market is in its freest, in its purest form, then whatever price which is set then is the actual, I mean, is the price which it should sell for. So kita dah cakap tadi tentang all the forms of riba, which kiranya akan constitute what would prevent the market from really performing as it should. Jadi saya rasa memang kalau nak cakap banyak je lagi. Itu baru introduction daripada dua buku ni, daripada Dr. Zarudin yang buku dengan buku Syekh Imran. InsyaAllah masa depan ni, I mean, kalau ada next time lagi, ada diberi peluang lagi oleh I Love Work, InsyaAllah saya boleh expand lagi tentang ni. Sebab saya rasa, saya try Google tentang Islamic research papers on Islamic finance itself, memang tak dapat jumpa sangat. Maybe memang ada je dekat universiti, tapi kalau nak search dekat Google Scholar, nak search kat Google itself, memang susah. Sebab benda ni memang penting and tak banyak lagi effort put in untuk really develop this. Sebab kalau fikir, ni yang saya sendiri fikir, I mean banyak je, every year ada orang akan menang Nobel Prize for Economics semua. Every year memang akan ada, tapi nobody could really predict the crash in 2008. I mean, it was clear memang banyak exploitation CDO, banyak financial punya engineering, creative accounting at play there. Tapi tak ada orang nak stop. Kenapa tak ada orang boleh stop benda tu? Because it's institutionalized. And kiranya the interest, if you think about it, interest was the main part yang allowed everything to work. Kiranya banks would give out risky loans, but diorang tahu whatever it is, they will still get the excess payment on interest. So from these loans, they sold it to the investment banks, and investment banks campur banyak-banyak ni sebab diorang rasa diversification. But it's not really diversification when all the things are just the same. It's all very risky subprime mortgage. Maknanya bank yang jual loans ni dekat investment bank, they didn't care. I mean, sebenarnya bukan setakat they didn't care, they were happier kalau loans ni were given to people yang tak boleh bayar. Sebab insurance last kali akan bayar balik bila ada default. So kiranya memanglah insurance tu, percayalah rating Standard and Poor, Fitch semua yang 3A, AAA punya rating. But it's a problem yang kita orang belajar dalam our syllabus. Bila auditor sendiri, orang yang bagi rating sendiri dibayar oleh company ni, maknanya untuk dia orang dapat lagi banyak duit, memang dia orang akan bagi rating yang bagus lah. But the core of it, kenapa the whole thing could work was because of interest. Kalau tak ada interest per se, banks could not have given that loans without thinking of apa orang nak buat dengan duit tu, orang tu boleh bayar ke tak. Jadi there is no sense of humanity in there. Maknanya bank memang nak exploit whatever it is. It was all about making money. It was not about helping. Sebab kiranya kita tahu dalam Islam, kalau ikut debt, selagi boleh jangan ada debt. Sampaikan ada seorang masa Rasulullah tinggal, belum habis bayar hutang lagi, Rasulullah suruh kawan dia, family dia untuk selesaikan hutang dulu, baru untuk sambungan sembahyang jenazah. I mean, that really shows betapa pentingnya and betapa patutnya kita takut untuk ambil debt ni. Especially debt yang bukan setakat debt, even debt within the Islamic structure ni form pun kiranya kita kena fikir banyak kali. Apatah lagi kalau debt in its current form of conventional banking. Jadi saya rasa itu je setakat ni. Harapnya, nak mohon maaf tak betul-betul structure the presentation. Lintang pukang sikit sebab I Love Work dah contact lama dah, masalah saya lupa hari ni hari kena bagi flower ni. Tapi terima kasih banyak I Love Work. Semua yang saya kata apa yang salah tolong check balik saya, saya refer all these books, tapi even the books pun dia cakap apa-apa yang salah, please let him know. So apa yang salah dari saya, apa yang baik dari Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Jadi harap awak anda semua awak semua anda semua dapatlah benefit sedikit sebanyak daripada apa yang saya cakap tadi. Sekian, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.